Hello and welcome to another video, and this one is about dance history, and our subject today is Fanny Elssler. She was born in 1810 and she lived till 1884, so she was one of the prominent and most important ballerinas in the Romantic era. She was born as Franziska Elssler. Let's go and explore her life a little bit more and go a little bit deeper into what happened, what she did, what kind of dances she was famous for. Let's go! She was born in Gumpendorf, which is a neighborhood of Vienna. Her father was a Johann Florian Elssler, but I've also read the name Jean being used for her father, and her mother was Therese Prinster. I found out that her father was a second-generation employee of the Prince Nicolaus I and copyist of musical manuscripts at the Prince's opera. The chapel master or Kapellmeister at the time was Joseph Haydn. Mr. Haydn liked Johann, liked working with him, so he took him on as his personal assistant, and in this capacity, Johann was there when Joseph Haydn died. Johann's brother Joseph also worked in the opera, so it was kind of a family business to work in the opera. Here you see an old image of the Cantatortheater. The Elssler family practically lived next door, and Haydn helped Johann's two daughters to get into the theater. So this was also the place where Fanny first trained and performed from age 6. She danced with her sister Therese, who was 2 years her senior. They studied together with Jean-Pierre Omer, who was himself a student of Jean d'Auberval, the creator of the ballet La Fille Mal Gardée. And there's also a story that Philippe Taglioni visited the theater to stage one of his ballets, and his very talented daughter Marie danced in it. Fanny and Therese were in the corps de ballet, and this was the first time Fanny saw Marie dancing. They would meet again in 1834 at the Paris Opera. Fanny and Therese went to Napoli to study with Gaetano Gioia. The image on the right is from nationalgalleries.org. Gioia was drawn by the Italian artist Giovanni Paolo Lasinio. Therese, who was taller than Fanny, would dress up as a man and function as her sister's partner. She was herself a very talented dancer, but let her sister shine and partnered her amazingly. There are stories that she could partner her specifically well in turning. They were a hit in Italy, where at the time ballet with tricks and acrobatics was a big hit. So we find furthermore in Wikipedia that performing there was a great success. On a personal level, things were a little bit more difficult. 17 years old Fanny, well, she had an affair with Leopold, Prince of Salerno, the son of King Ferdinand I, which resulted in the birth of a son, Franz. Her parents immediately got her back to Vienna, and Franz was given up for adoption so that Fanny could continue performing. From a lot of sources, it is immediately clear that Fanny was seen as a very beautiful, attractive young woman. Men adored her, and women hated her. But we'll talk more about this in the section about her adventures in America. Let's look at the screen and read this from the website encyclopedia.com. Fanny then incurred the passion of the aged and brilliant statesman Friedrich von Gens, counselor to Metternich. An intellectual, Gens was determined to educate his paramour, perfecting her German and teaching her French. He also provided her with advantageous introductions to further her career. Elssler, still shy and unspoiled, was devoted to him, but when the Berlin Opera offered the sisters a contract in autumn of 1830, and Gens proposed, Elssler preferred to dance in the Prussian capital. Gens died in June 1832 and Fanny was at his bedside. In 1830, the sisters packed their bags and went to Berlin. This was a series of triumphs for Fanny's personal beauty and skill in dancing, and for Therese it was her last performances, but she went on to choreograph and Fanny danced in all her choreographies. Fanny had a love affair with fellow dancer and premier danseur Anton Stuhlmüller, which resulted in a baby girl. She packed her bag again and went to London, and there were friends there from Mr. Gens, remember him? And this were George and Harriet Grote, who took in the baby. And then in September of 1834, Fanny got a contract at the Paris Opera. The opera directors believed it would be a good idea to have a rivalry going between Fanny and star ballerina Marie Taglioni. And it worked. Tickets sold. Here in this slate you can see a lithograph of the three graces of the star ballerinas at that time, that season, at the Théâtre de l'Académie Royale de Musique, which were Marie Taglioni, Fanny Elssler, and Fanny Ceruto. Now, Fanny was the opposite of the fairy-like ethereal Marie Taglioni. The image is of Fanny performing the Krakowienne. She was excellent in fusing ballet with folklore. So let's look a little closer. Fanny was called the pagan dancer. She was more earthly, corporeal, with movement of the upper body. She was excellent in precision and execution of steps. She danced sensual without being vulgar or volatile, and she was a great actress. Now this is a funny thing. In 1838 she danced La Sylphide, which was one of the roles that Marie Taglioni excelled in, and actually no one had a good thing to say about this performance. So you could see that Fanny and as well Marie Taglioni, they had their own style and their own special roles specifically for them, which they excelled in. This is her most famous role, a dance she successfully performed wherever she came. There are even statues made of this exact role and posture. I found a bronze statuette and porcelain figurines on eBay. So here she is seen as Florinda in the dance La Cachucha from the 1836 Chorale Guy de Ballet La Diable Boiteau in Paris, 1836, but she took it with her everywhere she went, and it was an enormous success. There are even some remakes of this, and we can see them, we can find them on YouTube. I'm not going to show them here because otherwise our video is going to be longer, of course, but I will list them down below in the description box, and I would say go ahead and check them out so you can see for yourself what type of style and what kind of dance steps she used. A little diversion. I wondered how to pronounce cachucha and went on to look up what it means. So I went from the search list you can see on the left to a hilarious video on YouTube. The link to this video is in the description box below if you want to see it and have a nice laugh. Okay, so obviously we want to see the meaning of a lively Andalusian solo dance in triple time done with castanets. Moving on. Now we arrive at the American tour, which was a debut at the Park Theatre in Manhattan on the evening on May 17, 1840. So, Fanny arrived on the steamer Great Western accompanied by her impresario, her ballet partner and ballet master James Sylvain, her cousin and companion Cathy Prinster, and her coachman Charles Neal. This is what I find very interesting, that in that time you would travel with your own personal coachman. Nice. She was the first European female artist to go on tour through North America and Cuba. She got $500 per performance, which was outrageously high in that time. She had a 6-month leave from the Paris Opera, but she broke her contract by remaining in the States for 2 years. 208 performances. It is written that she never visited the opera again because, well, she was not welcome there anymore. In this slide we see a picture of a man called Henry Wyckoff, and Henry Wyckoff was actually the person who arranged for Fanny to visit and tour the States. This is from a chapter in the book Fanny Elssler in America, and this book can be read on archive.org, the site of Internet Archive. I will put a link in the description box so you can visit it and see it and read it on your own. Let's read a little bit about it. While in New York City, Elssler dined with and was escorted by John Van Buren. I would say Van Buren, like as a Dutch resident, but Van Buren, son of the President of the United States, Martin Van Buren. In Washington, D.C., Congress closed so that no one need miss Elssler's performance. I promised you we would come back to the fact that men adored her and women hated her. A lady of this city wrote a pamphlet about Fanny, which started out nice in the preface, but when you read it on, you see that it is trash talking. Now, I'm not going to read it out loud for you here, but I will put a link into the description box so you can check it out for yourself if you want to. And the person responsible for this book, Fanny Elssler in America, which is a very nice book and assembly of different sorts of memorabilia, some librettos, some musical scripts, stories, very nice to read. I will put the link in the description box. The person responsible for this book called the lady a fantast and suggests that she may well have been a staff member of the Tribune or the Polyanthos. It is a garbled and fictitious. So there was an anti-Elssler campaign going on, but it was a dismal failure because the Park Theatre and every other theatre where Fanny came to perform was sold out nightly. So there. Let me tell you something else that was a highlight of her tour in America. There was a riot in New York. German musicians who were admirers of her decided to serenade Fanny at her hotel window. But a gang of rioters assembled and a man named Dixon held an inflammatory speech, which we can read in the beautiful and accomplished blah 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 from the lady of the city, advocating injustice of patronizing foreign, which they saw the German people as foreigners, in preference to native talent. Well, the German musicians were assaulted and instruments were broken and burned. And the most interesting thing is, I think, that you can read this speech from this Dixon person in the one book, in the pamphlet, the nasty one, and the tale of the events you can read in the other book, Fanny in America. So coming together to one story. You can read both via archive.org. I will link it in the description. So there was some excitement around her tour, even accompanied by merchandise like Fanny Elssler champagne, drawings, figurines, and the gossip was outrageous, with stories about an affair with Napoleon's son and even being a spy for the Prussian Empire. There was even a movie made about it in the mid-20th century, but none of it was true. But overall, the tour was a big success. And after that American tour, Fanny went back to Europe and performed in Germany, Austria, France, England, and Russia. In 1845, she was invited to perform along with her rivals Marita Glioni, Carlotta Grisi, and Fanny Ceruto in Jules Perrault's Pas de Quatre in London. but she declined. She retired the same year, having accumulated great fortune. Settled first in Hamburg and after back in Vienna. And here she died on November 27th in 1884. And then we end with a quick conclusion. What was Fanny Elssler known for? Well, she was born June 1810 in Vienna, Austria, and she died in Vienna November 27, 1884. She was an Austrian ballerina who introduced theatricalized folk dance, character dance, into ballet. She was celebrated for her beauty and spirited spectacular dancing and for her technique, especially her point work. So that is it for today's video. Obviously, there is more to be found about Fanny Elssler. Every source I used will be linked in the description box below. There is a biography written by Ivor Guest. You can buy it on Amazon or read it on archive.org. Both links below. And if you are still here, you watched and listened to everything, thank you so much. Hope you had fun. I know I did with the research. See you in the next one. Bye bye!